Thank you, Chairman and friends. First of all, I am expressing my sincere thanks to the organizer for inviting me to give me a chance to see Brazil, because Brazil is very popular in Calcutta because we are very fond of this Pele and football. So the thing is that the South-South cooperation is going on in the right way. Anyway, the thing is that I have to express my sincere thanks to Monica Hars, with whom I have a dialogue for 15 minutes. So after that, I got the invitation. So I don't know what impression I have made on Monica Hars. So I'm expressing my sincere thanks to Monica Hars and the Paula, the communicator, the South-South cooperation communicator. So my paper is, since there's a paucity of time, so it's a huge paper, but I will try to concentrate. My paper, the theme of the paper is Regionalism in South Asia, perambulating the role of India and China. Now, the thing is that I believe that charity begins at home. Everyone is talking of India as an emerging power. What about India's condition in South Asia? So I have to start with a quotation, two important quotation. If the 21st century is the American century, it is apt to regard the 21st century as the Asian century, with India as an important actor in global politics. In this backdrop, in 2002, our Honorable Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, in a speech delivered in Singapore, he said, India, I quote, belonging to Asia-Pacific community was a geographical fact and a political reality which did not require formal membership of any regional organization for its recognition of sustenance. India today truly seems to be a beautiful, radiant bride with many bridegrooms ready to tie the knot by deepening the areas of cooperation with it. Thus, India has become an inseparable part of regionalism, spanning the South, Southeast, and East Asian region. This is the perception of India. Now let me give you a darker side. While delivering the address at the inaugural session in the 16th SAARC Summit held in Thimphu in April 2010, our Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, while delivered his lecture, he said, in looking back at these 2.5 decades of SAARC, we can claim the glass is half full and compliment ourselves, or we can admit the glass is half empty and challenge ourselves. I believe we should challenge ourselves by acknowledging that the glass of regional cooperation, regional development, and regional integration is half empty. Yet, he further added, we have created institutions for regional cooperation, but we have not yet empowered them adequately to enable them to be more proactive, and pointed out that the challenge before the SAARC has been to translate institutions into activities, convention into programs, official statement into popular sentiment, as otherwise the region housing a fourth of the human race could face marginalization and stagnation if not empowered and better connected. Finally, he requested the members of the SAARC to pledge to revive the South Asian region once again as a source of new ideas, new knowledge, and new opportunities based on an act of faith towards which members must come together and cooperate with each other, since the people of South Asia do not have the voice they should and could have in the global polity. And he felt that the 21st century cannot be an Asian century unless South Asia marches ahead and marches ahead together. Let us make the SAARC a dynamic organization that can realize this collective vision for all of our people. So these are the two statements by which you can realize. Now I'm coming to main motto of my paper. that the purpose of the paper, what SAARC have done, the SAARC was established in 1985, and it was the initiative taken by Bangladesh. India is not the main initiator. But if you simply go through the performance of SAARC, it's not a good, what I can say, the result is not good enough. So what I will do, I will make more or less an assessment of the SAARC. What was that assessment, what was the achievement made by SAARC, and then what role India has played and what India should play. And the SAARC has expanded. Now there are observer members, like you will find that ASEAN, there are sectoral dialogue partner, full dialogue partner. So something like that, there are 9 observer members. So China is one of the important members. So what is the Chinese ambition, how the China is playing role in the SAARC region? Now coming to what are the economic agendas that were SAARC taken. Now before I mention the SAARC, if you see the ASEAN, if you compare with ASEAN, the performance of ASEAN, if you compare with SAARC, the SAARC is no match. ASEAN is performed much, much better than the SAARC. But the interesting point, in SAARC, there is a geographical disadvantage of the other members. There are 7 members. India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Maldives, Nepal, Bhutan, and Sri Lanka. Recently, the Afghanistan has included as an 8th member, excluding the 9 observer members. Now, the 72% of the geographical area is occupied by India. So that is a geographical advantage. And I'm sorry to say that we have produced Gandhi, who believes in non-violence, but we have faced 5 wars, 1 with China and 4 with Pakistan. It's the most unfortunate thing. Now, this is a real tragic part of our history. But for that I should not make India responsible. One has to make responsible the others who have provoked continuously, sorry to say, to Pakistan. Because someone have divided India and Pakistan. We are not divided. It is the British divided. And we are facing the problem for the last 60 years with reference to Kashmir problem. So the thing is that we are carrying the legacy. This is a real problem. Now coming to the main economic agenda of SAARC. Now SAARC have taken a number of initiatives. One of the important initiatives, this is known as, actually if you simply evaluate the SAARC during the Cold War period, nothing happened, nothing. Because there is a trust deficit among the members. And India's experience with the other members was not at all good, because geographically India was situated, or the other countries are situated in such a manner. Even in Nepal, sometimes bargaining with India, because Nepal have a border with China. So that's a real problem. So the thing is that China is really a factor in SAARC process. Now, coming to SAPTA, the SAPTA was actually South Asian Preferential Tariff Agreement. It was signed in 1993, and it started its operation in 1995. Now nothing happened, because since there's a paucity of time, I cannot mention why it is not happened. Nothing happened actually, SAPTA. Now, one of the important reasons of the SAPTA, SAPTA did actually, they made a special and favorable treatment. They have divided the SAARC members, the developed and underdeveloped countries. So India, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka, they belong to these developed countries, and the other 7 members, 4 members, they were actually belong to underdeveloped countries. But nothing happened with reference to SAPTA. And there are reasons. I will just mention the reasons. One of the important reasons, the SAPTA is basically a weak document, establishing the weakest form of economic integration. The other problem is that there is a lot of items on which the concessions are offered are not significant in trade terms. Like I can cite an example that in 1993-94, India imported only 22 out of 160 items offered for concession. For Pakistan, only 13 out of 35 products. For Bangladesh, it only exported 18 out of 214 items. So these are the problems. Another problem is that I think you know it very well that India, immediately after the post-Cold War years, when India have changed its economic policy, the new economic policy, you will find that we have announced our Look East policy. That means we want to develop more linkages with the eastern part of the countries, ignoring SAARC. And you will find that India was one of the important initiators of three sub-regional organizations. One is BIMSTEC. It consists of some South Asian countries, some Southeast Asian countries, mainly the Myanmar and Thailand. Like India have established the Mekong Ganga. Then India have initiated another thing is the South Asian Growth Quadrangle, which consists of India, Nepal, Bangladesh and Bhutan. That was established in 1996. So bilateralism was emphasized more in the process, in the SAFTA process, and which appeared to be one of the important impediment of the lacuna of the SAARC. And SAARC was actually, the SAFTA was not appeared to be a successful organization. I have a lot of data I have. The next initiative that India has taken, that is the SAFTA, the South Asian Free Trade Agreement. Now, one of the important decisions that India was taken was in the SAFTA, that is, they have made two categories. One is the category of the developed countries, where India, Pakistan and Sri Lanka, they have made an understanding that within the 2 years, the existing tariff, it will be reduced to 20%. And finally, by 2013, it will be reduced to 0 to 5% among the developed countries. Within the non-developed, actually underdeveloped countries, the least developed countries, it is actually initially started with 30% in the first 2 years, and finally 0 to 5% by 8 years, that is in 2016. Still the process is going on. Now there are certain constraints of SAFTA. Now, one of the important constraints, I will just mention the points. Although SAFTA officially took off in July 2006, 4 of the 7 members countries, mainly the Bhutan, Maldives, Nepal and Sri Lanka, have not yet issued notification about the implementation of the tariff reduction deal. India have committed to allow duty-free access to 8 million pieces of Bangladeshi garments products under tariff rate quota, but it is yet to issue notification in this regard. So this is one of the hurdles, how to implement, how to make the SAFTA effective. Second one is the separation of the tariff reduction procedure for the LDC and the non-LDC member countries creates dispute in the trade liberalization program. Thirdly, the thing is that although in SAFTA, India have already signed a bilateral FTA with Sri Lanka, like Pakistan have signed a bilateral FTA with Sri Lanka. So the thing is that bilateralism is giving much more emphasis rather than regionalism. So that may be appeared as an important impediment of the proper implementation of SAFTA. Thirdly, the SAFTA treaty does not provide for liberalization of trade in services and investment. Finally, but not the least, inadequate visa exemption scheme, lack in communication infrastructure and links, including mobile and internet, cross-border free flow of information, free movement of journalists and media persons, inadequate infrastructure for transportation of goods through land, sea and air links, promoting public-private partnership to fund upgrades, weak banking facilities for the smooth handling of business transaction and insurance, etc., etc. So these are the important impediments which fail to make SAFTA more effective. Now, how to make SAFTA effective? I have some suggestion. The first important thing is the adequate access to their products to each other market. That is one of the important, which I feel that if you want to make SAFTA effective and to make SAARC as a successful organization. Secondly, it will be difficult to make SAFTA operational unless the establishment of a SAARC investment area, a South Asian Development Bank, and a South Asian Development Fund. the interesting point, recently in the Thimphu summit, the South Asian Development Fund was initiated. India has already contributed 190 million rupees for development, and China have joined as a observer member, have given 300 million. So there's a competition between India and China. Thirdly, as an investment liberalization of trade in services should be seriously considered. Fourthly, the completion of the trade liberalization program within the scheduled time frame. Fifthly, the immediate creation of South Asian Development Bank, which I have actually not yet initiated. And pursued, the last point, to serve India as a growth pole for the region. Now, finally, so these are the prescription, or I think these are the important thing. I should not mention the data. If you see the data, a lot of data I have given. There are 10 tables. So if you simply see the SAFTA is functioning, it is last 3 or 4 years, it's generated speed, but not up to the mark actually. Now, coming to India's renewed mindset in the SARC. What is the India have an important role to play? Now, coming to India's mindset, which have mentioned that India have actually during the Cold War period, India have neglected SARC because India's bitterness with the ties, actually with the neighbors. And in the neighbors, they do not trust India. India wanted to, sorry to say, India have a war. India is a nuclear power that created tension. So India have a war with Pakistan. India have cut into Pakistan into 2 pieces, and Bangladesh is one, and West Pakistan is one. So these are some of the tensions which is existed because of the geographical advantage. And sorry to say, don't think I'm an anti-national. I'm a very pro-national. But I sometimes feel, what is the use of dividing Pakistan into 2 pieces? Bangladesh, what is the benefit we are getting? Nothing. Nothing. So it's a policymaker's decision. I being a simply layman and citizen, I don't agree with that, what the India did with Bangladesh. And India wanted to prove that India is a big brother in South Asian region. And that appears to be one of the important impediment of the, well, just 2 or 3 minutes, 4 minutes, give me just. So one of the important impediments of India's, the development of SARC. Now, since there's a paucity of time, recently I can say recently India is giving some initiative to develop SARC, because everyone is talking of the India as an emerging power. So until and unless you cannot take the South Asian region, the other members, you cannot prosper. So the thing is that, and I will say that recently in the UPA Phase 2 government, we have taken a very positive outlook towards Bangladesh. Except Afghanistan, we have given already $1 billion for Bangladesh, because this related to India's look-east policy, because Bangladesh is very much related to look-east policy. What I feel that if you wanted to make your look-east policy an effective, you have to bring your SARC members within its orbit. Otherwise, India's look-east policy cannot be an effective one. Now, there are improvement of trade figures. It is a fact. But how much time you can give me? Just 3 minutes. Okay. Sorry to say, because now coming to China, what I have to mention, I will mention 2 important points. China obtained its observer membership. China have a linkages in the past years. And many of these countries have a good linkages with China. Now, China got its observer membership in the 5th SARC summit that was held in Sri Lanka, in Colombo. And the thing is, India have objected. Categorically objected that China cannot be a member of observer member, because India is scared of China. Then India is pleading for Afghanistan. Then the Pakistan and Bangladesh and Nepal said, well, we will allow Afghanistan if you allow China. So India within 24 hours changed its attitude. India said, well, no problem, because there are other observer members are there. So China have entered. China has already started performing well, and the China has an advantage. In the morning session I've mentioned that China is using soft power. Soft power is an instrument to enjoy the mindset of the South Asian people, because India doesn't have that ability which China had. So the thing is that China is through soft power, by helping, giving aid, construction roads, etc., etc. China is already penetrated in the South Asian region. Now the last, just 2 minutes. Sorry. Just one point I have to mention regarding China, that in the Thimphu summit, again, China wanted to be a member of SAARC. And some of the SAARC countries, they objected. They pleaded, India objected. Because China said that if the Afghanistan is allowed to be a member, why not China? So why not the SAARC will be a 9 member? Why it is 8? So China wanted to be a member. Then India said that, yes, we can do that, but the thing is that we have to change our charter. So anyway, the matter was not allowed. Now, what are the last point, before I conclude, what are the major weaknesses of SAARC? I will highlight some of the points of highlights. The regional politics overwhelm and dilute the economic issues of the SAARC agenda. This is one of the important points. Secondly, there are too many poor countries within SAARC. Thirdly, the weak transit and communication facilities among the SAARC countries. Weakness of proper policies and uniform strategies to coordinate production, quality, and pricing. Lack of coverage and commitment of SAFTA. Weak connectivity among SAARC members. But there's an interesting point. Recently, India have taken an initiative, the connectivity, because it is very much related to our Lucas policy. Inter-regional trade among the SAARC nations have to be increased for self-sufficiency of the region, as well as reducing dependency of the US or the EU countries. Geography remains an important obstacle of SAARC development process and differences in political system. There are other points, how to make the SAARC effective, because there are 17 points. I will just mention the last points, because I have to honor the chair before I conclude. The SAARC has always been congested on soft issues and housekeeping matters in the agenda and that dominate the SAARC deliberation. Lack of regional cohesion mindset. So what I have to say, that India must play a benevolent, responsible guardian in the development of the SAARC process. Benevolent, responsible guardian, not to dominate, because India have to emerge as an economic power. So in conclusion, I will just mention that if the proverb that the 21st century is the century for Asia, it is to be made a reality, then the economic prosperity of the SAARC region will be essential for being a part of Asia. And for that, the mindset of the South Asian leaders should be changed from local to global level by keeping internal bilateral strengths as minimum as possible. India, being an emerging powerhouse, needs to give a relook of its policy towards the South Asian neighbors, and it should be more proactive rather than reactive in outlook. To conclude, this is the last line. The title of the Thimphu Summit declaration was, quote, towards a green and happy South Asia. Maybe this summit would be the trigger point of change with greenness for the beleaguered South Asian region, and that starting point could be traced from the Indian Prime Minister Manmohan Singh's inaugural address at the 16th summit, Thimphu, when he said, let us pledge, quote, I quote, let us pledge to revive the South Asia of our dream, that it is once again a source of new ideas, new knowledge, and new opportunities. Let us make the SAARC a dynamic organization that can realize this collective vision for our own people. Thank you very much.